Days turned into weeks, and Blessing watched as Daniel continued to support her mother from a distance. He paid for her medicine and regular checkups without asking for anything in return. Blessing felt ashamed for her behavior. I pushed him away, she thought, tears streaming down her face. Daniel, meanwhile, focused on his business and kept helping Mama Easy quietly. Blessing worked hard at the restaurant, saving every penny. She learned the value of honesty and humility, understanding that wealth wasn't everything. She wanted to earn a better life for herself and her mother. One evening, while closing up the restaurant, Blessing received a call from Daniel's mother. Blessing, I know things ended badly, but Daniel cares for you and your mother. He's still helping her, and I think you should talk to him, she said gently. Blessing felt a mix of hope and fear. I can't face him, she replied. I made too many mistakes. But Daniel's mother urged her to reach out. It's never too late to make things right, she said. Taking a deep breath, Blessing decided to visit Daniel. His friend told her about a cafe he frequents in the evening. As Blessing walked into the cafe, Daniel saw her. When he saw her, surprise crossed his face, but he kept a straight look and continued his drink. Blessing, what are you doing here? He asked, his voice cautious. Blessing sat next to him on his table and held his hand. I came to apologize, she said, her heart racing. I was wrong to hide my mother from you. I let my fear of being poor cloud my judgment. Daniel listened, his expression softening slightly. It hurt to see you deny your family. She is your mom. If you can deny her because she's poor, would you do the same to me if I ever ran out of money? He replied. Blessing looked dejected, sad and tearful. I'm sorry, Daniel. I didn't mean it that way. I only wanted you to look at me like I matter. That was why. I did it to keep up appearance. Please forgive me. Daniel drew her close and gave her a side hug. His face still stern, but he felt a relief as Blessing owned up. It's okay, don't cry, it's okay, he said. They continued to talk, and Blessing asked about Mama Issy. How is my mum? She asked. She's doing well, Daniel replied. I want to help her, and I want to help you too, but I need to know you're willing to be honest from now on. Blessing nodded earnestly. I promise to be honest, Daniel. I want to do better for my mother and for myself. She felt a glimmer of hope as Daniel's expression softened even more. Over the next few weeks, Blessing worked hard in the restaurant, saving money while spending more time with Daniel. They visited Mama Essie together, bringing her flowers and treats to brighten her spirits. Daniel was kind to Mama Essie, showing her the respect and love she deserved. As the two women connected with him, Blessing felt a weight lift from her heart. But old habits die hard. Even with Daniel's support, Blessing sometimes felt tempted to hide aspects of her life. During one of their outings, she borrowed another dress from her friend, wanting to impress Daniel at a high-end event. I need to look good for Daniel, she thought, feeling anxious about fitting in with his wealthy friends. At the event, Blessing saw Daniel interacting with his friends, laughing and sharing stories. She felt proud to be with him, but also insecure. When one of Daniel's friends asked her about her life, she hesitated. I work in a restaurant, she said, trying to sound confident, but as the conversation continued, she felt the familiar urge to embellish the truth. Later, as she and Daniel stood together, he could sense her unease. Blessing, you don't have to pretend around me. I like you for who you are, not for what you wear, he said gently. Blessing's heart raced. I know, but it's hard. I want to be enough for you, she confessed. Daniel took her hands in his. You are more than enough, Blessing. Your heart is what matters most. Just be yourself. Those words comforted her, and she felt a surge of warmth. As their relationship continued to grow, Blessing realized she was falling deeper in love with Daniel. He was not only supportive of her mother, but also encouraged her to chase her dreams. Why don't you think about starting a small catering business? He suggested one day. You're great at cooking and you could do it from home. At first, Blessing was hesitant. But what if it doesn't work? She asked. Daniel smiled reassuringly. You'll never know unless you try. I believe in you. His faith ignited a spark in her, and she began planning her catering business, excited about the possibilities ahead. Meanwhile, Mama Essie was feeling better with Daniel's support and treatment. She noticed Blessing's happiness and the change in her demeanor. You seem different, my child, she said one day. Are you and Daniel doing well? Blessing smiled, her eyes shining. Yes, Mama. He helps me see my worth. One evening, while volunteering, Blessing encountered a young girl named Amara. Amara was bright and cheerful despite her circumstances. She reminded Blessing of herself when she was younger. As they cooked together, Blessing felt inspired to teach Amara the joy of cooking. Their bond grew, and Blessing decided to include Amara in her catering plans. We can start a small business together, she said excitedly. Amara's eyes lit up. Really? That would be amazing. They began to plan and dream, bringing new energy into Blessing's life. Days passed, and one afternoon, Blessing received a call from Daniel's mother. Blessing, Daniel is going through some things. He's been distant, she said gently. He just needs time to process everything. Blessing felt a pang of worry. What do you mean? She asked. He loves you, but he's also dealing with expectations from his family, Daniel's mother explained. Sometimes it's hard for him to reconcile his feelings with what others expect. Blessing listened closely, feeling a mix of emotions. The following week, Daniel surprised Blessing with a visit to her community center. He saw her in her element, teaching Amara how to cook. As he watched her, his heart swelled with pride. When she finished, he approached her with a smile. You're incredible, Blessing, he said, wrapping his arms around her. I'm glad you came, she said, feeling happy yet nervous. I want you to see the real me. As they spent more time together, Blessing noticed Daniel seemed distracted. He often stared out of windows, lost in thought. One evening, after a wonderful day together, Daniel sat down and took a deep breath. Blessing, I want to talk, he said seriously. Blessing's heart raced. What is it? She asked, anxious. Daniel looked into her eyes. I love you, but I'm struggling. My family has high expectations for me to marry someone else, and sometimes I feel like I'm torn between two worlds. Blessing felt tears prick her eyes. I understand, Daniel. I've been worried too, she admitted. I don't want to hold you back. Weeks passed, and Daniel continued to face pressure from his family. He often called Blessing, expressing his feelings but also his struggle. I want you in my life, but I've recently realized my parents want me to marry someone else, he said one day. Tears filled Blessing's eyes. But you know we have something special. We can make this work, she pleaded. Daniel sighed, torn between his feelings for Blessing and the pressures from his family. Leave it with me, I'll handle my parents. One day, Blessing went to visit Daniel at his place. His mother was there. She pulled her aside and said, You have a beautiful spirit, but you must understand that Daniel's future is important to our family, she said gently. We want him to succeed. Blessing nodded, feeling the weight of their expectations. I understand. I just love Daniel and want to support him. One evening, Daniel took her hands in his and said, I'd get you a visa to travel to Europe with me, and from there we would set up a new life. Daniel did just that. Got Blessing a visa to Italy, booked tickets for them, and off they went. On getting to Italy, Blessing was marveled at the new life. She hugged Daniel and thanked him. They started a new life, and things were smooth with no pressures. Blessing will call Mama easy from time to time. She was so much better, and her legs had healed considerably. One evening, Daniel came into the house with 2 men and a dog. Blessing wondered where they came from. Daniel instructed Blessing she had to sleep with the men if she wanted to continue living in Italy. Blessing was dumbfounded and surprised. Me? Sleep with these men? For what, Daniel? I thought you loved me. Daniel looked away, his face stern. The men grabbed Blessing and did very bad things to her as Daniel stood and watched. The dog also took its turn. Blessing was distraught and in pain. When they left, Daniel tried to speak to her, but she wouldn't care. She packed her bag to leave. As she was about to, Daniel opened up to her. "I sell drugs, cocaine specifically. I owe these people money and this is their way of getting it back." Blessing was shocked and motionless. She couldn't believe it. She left the house and went to stay in the church where she worships. Days turned into weeks. She continued to visit the clinic for health checkup and take care of herself. One afternoon, the TV was on. The news reported the story of an African man who committed suicide in his apartment. It turned out to be Daniel. She cried her eyes out. She called Mama Ezzy and told her. After days and weeks of mourning, and also staying in the church, Blessing became a devout Christian. She later became the church's cook, serving food to worshippers. That was how she continued her life till she married the pastor and had 2 kids. Blessing's story tells us that life is filled with bumps and bruises.